When she picked up the chalk, she did something no one expected. Elite professors thought they could embarrass a simple woman with an impossible calculus problem. What they didn't know was that she was a high IQ genius, about to flip their world upside down. Monica Ellison walked into the lecture hall, fingers gripping the strap of her backpack a little tighter than usual. The air inside was still but heavy, as if the walls carried the weight of years of expectations. She knew this feeling well, being doubted before she even had the chance to prove herself. But today, something felt different. She slid into a seat near the front and opened her notebook. Around her, students whispered, some smirking, others glued to their phones, waiting for class to begin. The hall was massive. High ceilings, endless rows of seats, and a chalkboard so large it seemed designed to remind every student that they were small, that they had to earn their place here. This was differential equations at Westmore University, one of the top mathematics programs in the country. Most of the students came from privilege, prep schools, family legacies, wealth. Monica was the exception. A transfer from a small community college in Ohio, she'd earned her scholarship with flawless exam scores. But paper credentials didn't silence skepticism. Then he arrived. Dr. Henshaw. The room went silent at once. He was brilliant, ruthless, and notorious for breaking students down. His eyes swept the hall, lingering on Monica. His lips curled in something close to a smirk. "Miss Ellison," he said, stretching her name like it didn't quite belong to her. "Let's see what you've got. Come solve this for us." A quiet wave of excitement spread through the room. Whispers, stares. Monica knew this wasn't just a math test, it was a public trial. Closing her notebook, she stood and walked forward with calm, measured steps. She wouldn't rush. She wouldn't stumble. Dr. Henshaw handed her the chalk. On the board was a complex equation, carefully chosen to trip her up, a multivariable function designed to overwhelm. Behind her, she heard the whispers. She's going to mess it up. Let's see if she even knows where to start. She blocked them out. Numbers had always spoken to her in ways people never could. She didn't question whether she could solve it. The only question was if they were ready for her. To Dr. Henshaw's voice cut in, smug. "Start with the basic method. Break it down into simple parts." The class chuckled. He was speaking to her like a child, as though she had never seen an equation like this before. Monica's face stayed calm. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a reaction. From the back, another professor slipped in quietly. Dr. Elaine Parker. She was newer to the faculty, respected but not yet part of Henshaw's inner circle. She sat silently, watching Monica closely. "Take your time, Miss Ellison," Henshaw added with a glance at his watch, "though we do have a curriculum to cover." More laughter, more whispers. Monica felt the weight of the entire room pressing down on her. She could play it safe, follow the standard method, take the slow, expected route. That would prove she was competent, nothing more. That was what they wanted from her. Mediocrity that didn't challenge their assumptions. But Monica wasn't here to survive. She was here to prove she belonged. She looked at the equation again, beyond its surface chaos, seeing the elegant pattern underneath. There it was. A shortcut. A method that skipped 3 unnecessary steps. She gripped the chalk tighter, ready to not just solve the problem, but change the way they saw her. It was unorthodox. Not something you'd find in standard textbooks, but completely mathematically sound. The real question was, did she dare use it? The moment Monica's chalk touched the board, the room grew quieter. The shuffle of papers, the tap of a pen, all of it faded as eyes locked on her. She moved with precision, writing her first steps, without hesitation. This problem wasn't just about reaching the answer. It was about efficiency. Most students would take the long road, but Monica saw a shorter path. One that skipped the noise and revealed the truth instantly. A path only someone with real mastery would recognize. Dr. Henshaw stood with arms crossed, his mask of indifference slipping into something sharper. He wasn't just watching. He was waiting for her to slip. Monica reached the midpoint of the solution, pausing only long enough to check her work. Not out of doubt, but discipline. She knew her every move was under scrutiny, so she made sure there was nothing to question. Catty. Whispers had stopped. The smug glances were gone. Students leaned forward, watching intently. The equation was unraveling under her hand piece by piece, exactly as she'd predicted. Behind her, someone exhaled. She's actually doing it. Another voice followed, lower, reluctant. And she's doing it fast. Dr. Henshaw shifted, on his feet. Make sure you're not skipping important steps, Miss Ellison. His tone was sharp, almost cutting. Without turning, Monica replied calmly, I'm not. The class stirred at her response, not just the words, but the steady, unshakable way she'd said them. From her corner seat, Dr. Parker's eyes lit with recognition. Monica wasn't just solving the problem, she was reframing it, demonstrating not only knowledge but a deeper understanding of the principles behind it, and Henshaw knew it too. His posture stiffened. Students usually followed the path he laid out in his lectures. Monica had chosen her own, and it was working. Perhaps you'd like to explain your methodology to the class, he said. It wasn't a request. It was an invitation to stumble. Monica paused, chalk still in hand. I'd be happy to, she said steadily. Once I'm finished. She boxed the final answer, set the chalk down and stepped back. Silence. For a heartbeat, the whole room held its breath. Dr. Henshaw stepped forward, scanning her work, finger tracing line by line. He wasn't confirming, he was hunting, searching for a mistake, but none appeared. Finally, he exhaled. An unconventional approach, he admitted. But correct. The words hung in the air like a shockwave. Then another voice broke the silence. Dr. Parker rose from her seat. That wasn't just correct, Doctor, she said. That was brilliant. The room buzzed. Students who had mocked her minutes ago now stared at the board, scribbling notes to capture her method. But Henshaw wasn't ready to surrender. His usual smirk was gone, replaced with something rigid. He tapped the podium, then circled part of her solution. You chose to bypass the traditional method here, cutting straight to the derivative transformation. Why assume this was the best approach? It was a trap. Not about the math, but her authority to defy the standard. Monica didn't flinch. Because the traditional method introduces unnecessary steps, this approach eliminates redundancy and reaches the solution faster. A ripple moved through the students. Some shifted in their seats. Others scribbled furiously. They realized she had just revealed a cleaner, sharper method than the one they'd been taught. Dr. Henshaw raised an eyebrow. His expression was unreadable. And what if I told you that cutting steps can sometimes lead to miscalculations? Monica met his gaze without flinching. It can, she said evenly, but it didn't. A low chuckle rippled through the room, breaking the tension for just a moment. Students exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way they expected. Dr. Parker moved closer, her interest sharpening. She wasn't just impressed by Monica's intelligence, but by her composure. Courage under fire, that was rarer than genius. Dr. Henshaw pursed his lips, tightening his grip on the chalk. Confidence is commendable, Miss Ellison, he said slowly. But let's test it, shall we? He turned back to the board, his hand moving swiftly as he wrote out a second equation. This one was more complex, layered with variables, limits, and exponentials, designed not just to challenge but to break. Stepping aside, he gestured at the board. Let's see if your method holds up here. Monica didn't hesitate. She rose, took the chalk, and studied the problem. It was difficult, no denying that, but not impossible. Her hand moved steadily, across the board, each line flowing seamlessly into the next. The atmosphere in the room shifted. What had begun as skepticism was now curiosity. Students leaned forward, pens ready, eager to see how she would tackle the impossible. Minutes passed. 5, then 10. The chalk filled the board with careful precision, her solution unfolding piece by piece. Dr. Henshaw stayed silent, his eyes locked on her every move. Finally, Monica drew a box around her answer, set the chalk down, and turned. That's the solution. Dr. Henshaw stared at the board. His silence was louder than any criticism. Then Dr. Parker's voice broke through. That, she said, walking toward the front, is nothing short of genius. The shift was instant. Students who had dismissed her minutes ago were now buzzing with excitement. Whispers filled the room, not of mockery this time, but of awe. She skipped 3 steps and still nailed it. I wouldn't have even thought of that. Monica ignored them, quietly returning to her seat, calm as if nothing extraordinary had just happened. Dr. Parker studied the board, arms folded. Not only is it correct, she said, but she found an optimization most students wouldn't even consider. Her eyes flicked toward Henshaw. You should be impressed. For the briefest second, his jaw tightened. He cleared his throat, adjusting his tie. It's certainly a different approach, he muttered, reaching for the chalk. But let's examine. No need. Dr. Parker cut in, her tone light but firm. But I've already checked it, it's flawless. For the first time, Dr. Henshaw hesitated. His authority, usually unshakable, wavered. He had built his career as the final word in his classroom. Yet here was a student, one he'd underestimated, forcing him to reconsider. From the side, a student who had laughed at Monica earlier raised his hand. Professor, could Monica explain how she saw that shortcut? I wouldn't have thought of it. Monica blinked, surprised. She had expected doubt, maybe scorn. Not this. Dr. Parker smiled. That's an excellent idea. Monica, would you walk them through your reasoning? Monica hesitated, not from insecurity, but from the unfamiliarity of being asked to share rather than defend. She glanced at the board, gathering her thoughts. I looked at the structure first, she explained. Instead of forcing the standard method, I recognized a pattern in the coefficients that allowed me to factor out terms early. That simplified the equation before I even began solving. Students scribbled notes furiously. One whispered to himself. That's why she skipped the second step. It wasn't a guess, it was intentional. Exactly, Dr. Parker confirmed with a proud smile. Henshaw stayed quiet, watching as the classroom shifted around him. His students, once loyal to his authority, now looked at Monica differently. With respect. It wasn't instant. It wasn't unanimous. But it was undeniable. Monica didn't need their validation. She had never sought it. But watching doubt transform into recognition, that was its own quiet victory. But the real moment of reckoning wasn't with the students. It was with Dr. Henshaw. He stood rigid at the front of the room, the control he wore like armor slipping through his fingers. The class wasn't waiting on him anymore. Their eyes weren't on their professor, they were on Monica, on her work, on the realization that she wasn't just capable, she was exceptional. He felt it, the shift in the air. Students who once clung to his every word were now waiting to see how he would respond. His grip on the chalk tightened. Well, he finally said, his voice flat, measured. It seems Miss Ellison has a unique way of approaching the material. Unique. A word dangerously close to dismissal. Dr. Parker caught it instantly. Tilting her head, she countered, I'd call it advanced. She didn't just solve the problem, she optimized it. That's not talent, that's mastery. Henshaw's lips pressed thin. He was cornered, and he knew it. Monica had proven herself too decisively, and with Parker reinforcing it, his usual tactics wouldn't work. So he did what men like him did best, adjusted his tie, forced a polite smile, and nodded. Yes. Well, I suppose we'll see how she performs on the next exam. Monica didn't flinch. She understood perfectly. This wasn't over, but it didn't need to be. She had already made her point. As students packed their bags, the murmurs returned, but they were different now. Curious, respectful, Some glances carried admiration, others uncertainty, as if they were recalibrating what they thought they knew about her. One student who had openly doubted her earlier hesitated before saying, "Hey, that was impressive." Monica didn't pause. "I know." He blinked, then let out a small laugh. "All right, then." She slung her backpack over her shoulder and walked toward the exit, her stride steady. She had spent years proving herself in places that weren't made for her. This was nothing new. But today something shifted, not just in the room, not just in how they saw her, but in how she saw herself. She had always known her worth. Now they did too. Because respect isn't given, it's earned, and she had just earned it. But this was only the beginning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new doubts to crush, new assumptions to break. Henshaw wouldn't suddenly become her ally. Some classmates would still dismiss her. But something fundamental had cracked open in that lecture hall. She had done more than solve an equation. She had opened a door that had been locked to people like her for too long, and she wasn't about to let it shut again. As she stepped into the hallway, Dr. Parker caught up to her. "Miss Ellison," she called. "Do you have a moment?" Monica turned, surprised. "Of course." The lecture hall door clicked shut behind her. The cool afternoon air hit her skin, a sharp contrast to the tension she had just left behind. She drew a deep breath, letting the weight of the hour settle. She had done it, not just solved a problem, not just stood her ground. She had changed something. Her phone buzzed. A text from her friend Jordan. "Jordan, how was class?" Monica smirked, thumbs tapping quickly. "Monica, same as usual, except I just made Henshaw eat his own words." The reply came instantly. "Jordan, no way. What happened?" Monica considered, then typed back, "Monica, let's just say he tried to embarrass me and ended up embarrassing himself." Jordan's response was quick. "Jordan, about time someone put him in his place." Monica chuckled softly. She wasn't naive. One class wouldn't change everything. Henshaw wouldn't suddenly respect her. Some students would still see her as an outsider. But that wasn't the point. This was for the ones who would come after her, the students who would sit in that same room facing the same challenges, feeling the same weight. She had forced them to see her not as an anomaly, not an exception, but exactly what she was. Brilliant, unapologetic, unshaken. And that mattered. Sliding her phone back into her pocket, Monica walked across campus with lighter steps than she had that morning. Because respect isn't something you wait for, it's something you demand. And she would demand it every single time. If you've ever felt underestimated, let this be your reminder. Your talent speaks for itself. You don't need permission to be great. Keep pushing. Keep proving them wrong. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that matter. And tell us, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments.